Good evening to everyone, and here we are, May 5th already, and moving on to our next topic, which is really discussing about the Church of the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians that Don Bosco built and felt compelled to under the leadership and guidance of Mary, our Blessed Mother. And this was a culmination of dreams that he had in 1844, 1845, and that he didn't put into practice, didn't come to really begin working on this project until 1863, when he decided this is the time. It wasn't that he had the money, because he had no money, but matter of fact, his economer for the foundation, for the society, tried to argue him out of it, telling him, Don Bosco, this is not a little chapel. We're building a huge church, a basilica, and we have no money. We didn't even have enough money to pay for our postage this morning, and here you are wanting to start this project. Don Bosco says, never mind, never mind, never mind. Divine providence. We have to leave some work for divine providence. One thing that Don Bosco had was a tremendous dependence and recognition and reliance on divine providence, that he would do everything he could, and the good Lord would take care of the rest, So he began, and even in the first week when they were laying the foundation, the contractor came to him and said, "We need to get paid, Don Bosco." Within the first few days, he already owed 1,000 lira, which was a significant amount of money at that time. And he said, "Well, I'm going to pay you here." And so he opened his purse, and the contractor thought he must have had a purse full of gold coins, but instead he was a little shocked when all he saw was 8 cents. And Don Bosco opened up and gave him the 8 cents. And so the work began with 8 cents and nothing down, just 8 cents to begin the first 2 weeks of laying the foundations of this magnificent basilica, which I hope, by the way, we all have a chance sometime in our life to go visit. It gives us a greater understanding of Don Bosco and his love for Mary, and the significance of Mary under her title, Help of Christians. The contractor was stupefied. And matter of fact, he told the contractor, "Don't worry." He says, "Mary is going to pay for everything. You're going to get paid, and the Madonna is going to make sure that her church is paid for completely." And at the end of the building, exactly what happened. The church was paid for. Every cent of it was paid. Now, it doesn't mean there weren't any speed bumps along the way. There were. People who had promised large sums of money all of a sudden began to change their minds as time went on. But Don Bosco never faltered. He continued going around, knocking on doors, asking for people to assist. He was not shy about asking the wealthy, the poor. Matter of fact, I think they said it cost a little over 6 million lira, which was way a significant amount of money, considering he only started with 8 cents. They said about 1/6 of that was paid for by larger contributors, and the rest was paid for mainly by smaller contributors and the poor. So it was really a church built, and Don Bosco said, by Mary, brick by brick, grace by grace. It was a church not only built by Mary, but and that she saw it through to completion. And there were many miracles involved with this church as well. There was Don Bosco was suddenly called to the bedside of a woman who had been racked for 3 months by fever and a cold. She couldn't get out of bed. The doctors were not hopeful that she would ever get a reprieve from the sickness she was in. And she told Don Bosco, "I would make a sacrifice just to get out of bed would be a vast relief." And Don Bosco said, "Well, what would you do if you were able to get some of your health back?" He said, "Well," he said, "if I could just walk around my room a little bit," he said, I would give anything that you want. What would you want me to give?" He said, "Well, what I want you to do is do a novena to Mary under her title, Help of Christians, and do the necessary prayers, do the novena." And he said, "During the novena, you'll be healed." The woman said, "Well, if I can be healed during the novena, if I could just walk around a little bit, I will give you a donation and for your new church that you're building in Valdocco." And Don Bosco said, "Fine." So he, after the week after the novena, he went to visit her again, and he was met at the door by the woman's maid, who was rejoicing, saying that how happy she was. She seemed to be well, and all of a sudden the woman walked downstairs completely healed. and she told him she was just coming back from church where she did her prayers, and here's a donation. She opened up a purse. She gave him 50 gold Napoleons, which were amount at that time 1,000 lira. And what did he owe the contractor? That was the last day. What did he owe the contractor on that day itself that Damask was going to see if she would help? Was 1,000 lira. And things, miracles and events happen like this throughout the building of the church and throughout his life, actually, no matter what project he seemed to be engaged in. Mary, under her title Help of Christians, really seemed to have a hand in the building of this church. Other, there were other miracles as well, but we'll leave them to another time. Just understand the main thought for this evening: divine providence. Trust in divine providence, and trust that Mary, under her title Help of Christians, if we put our trust in her, all things become possible, and you'll see miracles in your life. Mary, Help of Christians, pray for us. Have a great evening.